Hello, Michelle here from Insight. Today I'm going to talk to you about a tool called Using Your Senses to Cope. This tool uses sensory approaches, a treatment approach developed by occupational therapists. If this is new to you, we recommend some further training. You can enrol at one of the workshops at Insight or head over to our Sensory Approaches Toolkit on the Insight website, where you'll find a range of resources, online learning opportunities and webinars. You can also consult your occupational therapist. This tool offers people simple ways to cope using their senses when they are dysregulated. It can also be used to promote self-care and harm reduction. Consider using it when people are finding it difficult to think or to talk. You can also use it at any stage in people's treatment, whether they've stopped using substances, they're cutting down, or are continuing to use. Let's have a closer look at the tool. It's 2 A4 double-sided pages, and it's broken into 2 parts. The first is psychoeducation, and the second part is a worksheet with tips. This tool will help you to guide a conversation with a client. It's not intended to replace a full clinical assessment or intervention using sensory approaches. So it can be used as a brief intervention. You can split it up over several sessions, or you can offer it to the client to take away and read at a later date. The first page explains normal stress responses and how this can affect people's mood and functioning. It also looks at the pros and cons to using substances to help with this, and introduces the idea that we can also use our senses to help us to cope at challenging times. Page 2 outlines how challenges can alter our arousal or our energy levels, and how using sensory inputs can help us to feel more in charge of ourselves and our bodies. One of the ways it does this is by helping us to calm down our nervous system when it is too high, that energy, and to alert our nervous system when our energy levels feel low. And as you'll see, regardless of the origin of those challenges, whether it's to do with thinking, emotions, actions, or bodily sensations, using sensory input can still support someone. We've outlined some of the key benefits for people. It's easy, it's fast, it's fun, and it's free. These are all things that make it very accessible to everybody, not just our clients, but also their families and even us as workers. But it's particularly helpful when people are experiencing very strong, difficult emotions, if they are substance affected, if they're going through withdrawal, or if they're experiencing cravings, or if they've experienced trauma in the past, and if they need more support. Page 3 is a worksheet which the client can complete. We begin with what helps. This is a chance for people to explore their sensory preferences. You can see the senses listed along the top, and there's one extra one that you may not have seen before, move, which incorporates proprioceptive and vestibular input. Here we encourage the client to circle some sensory inputs that they find supportive. And then there's space below for them to add in extras. The aim here is not to change or to prescribe the person's sensory preferences, but to help them become more aware of those preferences that are supportive, and to think about how they can start incorporating more of them into their life, especially at challenging times. You'll see at the bottom, there's opportunities for people to start considering when their energy levels feel too low or too high, and what types of sensory inputs might help them most at those times. We also encourage people to think about grounding and comforting sensory input, and this can be used safely at any time, regardless of how their nervous system is feeling. The next section is what doesn't help. So again, here we've provided some options for people to circle if they wish, and then space to add their own. So these are sensory inputs that may be related to someone's substance use or past trauma, or they could simply be preferences that the person does not prefer, that they don't find helpful. With these, we want to encourage the person to limit or to avoid where possible. But when this isn't, we've got some suggestions here around including comforting sensory input and ways to reduce the effects of that input. On the last page, you'll find a range of tips for people, and it's divided into two sections: those in acutely distressing situations and those for the everyday. So let's start with the first part, ideas for coping with cravings and a crisis. And here we have a range of sensory strategies. It could be gathering sensory items together for when they are needed most, using a phone in a range of different ways. It also includes sensory strategies that can be used quickly and easily to help someone relax their breathing and to feel more grounded by using pressure and movement. You'll notice there's a caution here. If you're thinking of using essential oils or weighted items, we recommend you consult an occupational therapist or other trained health professional. In the final part, ideas for every day, we have sensory strategies that can be used as part of routines and new habits. There are ideas here for how to incorporate these early in the day and later in the day, as part of schedules and using sensory inputs at challenging times. Sensory activities to do with others so that everyone can feel better together. And the idea of creating a special place where people can practice and retreat to with those preferred sensory preferences and items when they need them. Finally, we suggest that if possible, people share this with someone they trust, family members, friends, or a counsellor. And there's also a reminder that people can always call the 24-hour national free alcohol and drug hotline. And the tool finishes with a message congratulating people on trying these new ways of coping that use their senses. And we encourage people to think of this as a work in progress and that they can keep adding to these ideas as they go about their days and they're coping with their challenges. And they can refer back to this tool whenever they need it. So let's look at some ways this tool has been used to help Sam. Sam is 25. He grew up loving basketball and skateboarding. He also enjoyed helping his mum in the garden. Sam said his dad drank a lot and was sometimes unpredictable and violent. Sam found it hard to focus on schoolwork. His daily routine is to rise mid-morning. He smokes some cannabis, then eats. He begins drinking beer or spirits around midday, then watches television in the afternoon. Sam has little energy and has not been looking for work. He is having trouble sleeping at night and smokes cannabis to help with this. Sam wants to explore some new ways to cope without drugs and alcohol. He'd really like to improve his mood and his sleep. The first part of the tool helps Sam to understand normal responses to the stresses in his life, both now and from his childhood. He made links between these and his use of cannabis and alcohol to help him cope with his mood and getting to sleep, as well as some of the not so good things happening due to his substance use, such as low energy and agitation at night time. Using the worksheet, starting with what helps, Sam circled the following: nature under C, hip hop and birdsong under here, warm shower, sunshine and sand, stones under touch, herbs, garden and citrus under smell, gum under taste, and garden under move. He added skateboarding and basketball to the section below. When Sam completed the what doesn't help section, he said seeing bottles of beer or spirits around his home or on television made him want to drink and brought back difficult memories of his childhood. Sam decided to remove bottles of alcohol from view. When he feels low now or has cravings, he tries listening to hip hop or switching off the TV, going outdoors and sitting in the sun, watering his plants, or eating an orange or mandarin, or bouncing his basketball. From the tips on the last page, Sam liked the idea of gathering sensory items together in a box. He found pressure helpful to ground and energise, so he added gum, small stones and hand weights to his box. His new morning routine is to play hip-hop music, use lime soap gel to shower, and have citrus juice or fruit for breakfast. To prepare for sleep, he takes a warm shower and uses an app with bird and nature sounds. In his bedroom, he has hung some nature posters and brought in several plants. He shared his new strategies with his mum, and now they meet each week to do some gardening together and sometimes cook with the produce they grow. He and his counsellor incorporated these new ways of coping into his relapse prevention and management plan. We hope you found this useful. Bye for now.